Good to go.
Good to go.
All right. Let me make sure that this went to the right stream because I'll
Matt, give us proof that
piss me
Steven
off
is
if I
alive.
screwed it
Yeah,
up. Yep,
that's
it
nice.
worked. All right,
You
there we
know,
go.
it's like, oh yeah, that guy who's constantly making suicide jokes. I haven't heard from him in a while. How is it that you send a private message on sick? I can't figure out how to do that. Anyway, I guess we'll wait for him to go live on the fucking internet to see if he's okay. Go fuck yourself, Andrew. Um, everyone's doing great, Coop. Everyone's doing great.
It's been a while.
Why do you ask?
Just before we went live here, Steven was getting his ass kicked by his cat.
I really was. She's never like this. She's in complete fucking murder mode. You know, and I don't know. She's killing my feet right now. The only reason that I'm in bed is because it is a 99% chance that she would just come up and like fall asleep like on my lap. I thought it'd be pretty adorable. That the fans might like that. Cat videos. My research, they're very big on the internet, Matthew, and so I was trying to sort of harness that for the algorithm. Ha ha ha! But instead, violence, which is also big on the internet. But
Andrew says, "Oh
so
yeah, she's got that body language.
Yeah,
yeah, she's gonna fuck you up.
Yep, it's coming."
Steven said that, or Andrew said that this definitely isn't Steven. Anyone who knows Steven knows he never answers his messages on Signal. Well, that's me. I'm the one who never answers my messages, not just on Signal, but anywhere. Yes. Of course, I've actually got a good excuse here with Signal. Signal now has decided that it just will not send me notifications on the app unless I open the app. So every time that I open the app, like open it and a whole bunch of notifications all come streaming in, and then I'm like, oh geez, I don't have time to sit here and answer all these, and so then I just don't answer them, and this is probably why I don't have any friends. But so that's my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
Get up here, you. Not you. Man,
hey, what's up?
I mean, if you want to, you can. I wish. She's I'm raising absolute
2 time zones closer to you.
Yeah, that's something that I like much better. I like much better than that West Coast thing was pretty fucking annoying. Even if somebody doesn't really have West Coast particular sensibilities or whatever, that time zone thing, that's hard to get over.
I enjoy being on the time zone that we're on now, although it took a little while. It took a little bit kind of to get used to it, and I don't think that Eastwood's gotten used to it yet. He's still having a rough time.
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna lie when I say moving from the California high desert to San Antonio is a really big downgrade. It's a really big downgrade.
Just in terms of view, beauty, aesthetics. Yeah, I get that.
Everything. Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah, and the people aren't really from what I've seen so far. The people aren't any different at all. It in terms of like if you walk inside a store and you're going off of like mask wearing or demographics or anything like that, or income level, like any of those kinds of things, there's no difference at all between where we were and where we are now. In fact, actually, there may be more mask wearing here than there was in California where we were.
Man, this is a real hot take right here.
What?
Just that California is comparatively sort of like the nexus of liberty.
Well, the eastern part of Southern California is pretty good. It's pretty. It's. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's straight up Trump country, but it's not far removed from it. And there's definitely Trump country out there. And then you also have like the worst weather that you'll get is maybe for like 2 or 3 days, you might get some torrential rains and it'll drop down into the 30s in December or January. And then now, like I've been keeping track of the weather back home every single day, 70 degrees and sunny. Every single day, 70 degrees and sunny.
It's rough.
And if you haven't lived in that kind of a climate, to anybody out there, if you've grown up living, I grew up living with shitty weather, so I'm very used to it. Moving somewhere with a climate like that, and then leaving and going to some like your ability to tolerate bad weather, your standard for bad weather changes significantly. There's a reason why people are willing to pay the sunshine tax.
Yeah, Yeah, I'd just like to address this real quick. Coop, I'm sorry I'm not fuckable enough for you right now, honey. And also, one of the best burns, just talking about this hair or whatever. I walked into a restaurant and I saw a friend of mine that I've had for a while, and he goes, "Why do you look like you just cleaned somebody's sink?"
That is pretty good. You've got good
Pretty good.
friends.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
Yes.
Andrew says, I don't know why Matt moved to an urban liberal shithole, typical Californian. Well, it's at this point, it's kind of hard to miss the urban liberal shithole. That's kind of a pretty big target. The areas that aren't urban liberal shitholes are seemingly much smaller than the areas that are. But I left an area that was decidedly not an urban liberal shithole, and I came to an area that is. So that's probably what's been unpleasant so far.
Mm.
But I guess maybe if there's one thing that I've noticed is fairly different about this area compared to a lot of Southern California is the lack of homeless people. There's definitely fewer homeless people here. But even where we were, there weren't a lot. There was, I think people don't really fully appreciate what like San Bernardino and Riverside counties are like. Those are really, really nice areas. And the more time I spend away from them, the more that I miss them, and the more that I am persuaded that that's just about the best place on earth. But unfortunately, it's been taken over by commies. So got to do what you got to do.
Am I reading this right? He says, I hate going downtown San Diego. Downtown San Diego's like that too?
I've never been to San Diego.
Really?
Yeah. I lived an hour and a half from it for 2 years, 3 years, and never been there. Okay. Well, we this isn't going to be a super long show here today. We just wanted to get back in the swing of things. We wanted to
I'm going to get done with my classes tonight at like 8:30 and like go check my phone, and Matt's going to be ranting like about aliens or something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. But we decided that we've been away from the game for too long, and so it was time to pick it back up and rejoin the fray. We're over the next
we're in the fray right now.
The like really obnoxious, shitty like 2000s band.
Yeah.
How to Save a Life.
What we're saying is we're stopping the podcast and joining the fray.
I don't even know if they're still touring, but they are going to be.
That's where we come in.
Over the next several weeks here, as we kind of get back into the flow of things, we're going to be, we have a like recording schedule that we're going to shoot for, but we don't know exactly whether we're going to actually be able to keep up with it. Just because, at least I am in a situation, I'm kind of in limbo right now. There's a lot of moving parts, and I don't completely control my schedule. So hopefully we're going to be able to do a live stream like this every Thursday, where that's what we're going to shoot for. And Steven and I gracing you with our beautiful voices and our even more beautiful faces. And then I've got a list of guests that I've lined up that I'm going to start reaching out to, and I'm going to start doing some more guest shows, because I have a bunch of different people who I want to pick their brains about stuff. I want to try to explore some new topics, and I've got a bunch of questions, and I've got some subjects that some dots I'm trying to connect, some things I'm trying to put together. I felt for the last few months kind of like I have sort of hit a wall in like psychologically, and I've got some stuff that I'm trying to break through, some stuff I'm trying to understand. And the cool thing about having a podcast is that it gives you an excuse to talk to people who otherwise might not pay you any attention at all. And so rather than trying to think through all this stuff on my own, I'm just going to go find the people who are talking about the things that are interesting to me and just start asking them questions. So I don't know for sure who I'll be able to get, but I think the format that I'm going to use with some of these interviews, or Stephen, you obviously, I'll let you know that you're obviously willing or welcome to join me if you'd like. uh, I think we're going to do more pre-recorded shows and less of the kind of live stream.
Yeah, this shit is stressful.
Pants stuff.
You guys who never live stream anything, you may not know, but Matthew's probably like 3 inches away from an anxiety attack at all times.
Sometimes, yeah, for sure. It's not trying to pick up a show like this and carry it and just kind of talk stream of consciousness requires being in fairly well tip-top shape within your own brain, and I'm not that right now. So doing these live shows is it's fun, but it's fun when you have stuff to talk about. It's fun when you have subjects to like really dig into and tear into. But I feel like we can only go back to the same well so many times, and so I'm ready to start recharging. I guess maybe refilling new wells and getting into some new subjects. One, I guess, kind of topical subject would be Randall Carlson was on Joe Rogan recently, and I have been, so one of my new habits, my new routines is I go out after the after Eastwood's in bed. I go out and just walk around at night in the dark. I just love the feeling of walking in the dark and listening to stuff. And so I've been having all these flashbacks from like 2 or 3 years ago when I first encountered Randall Carlson on Joe Rogan and went down a really deep rabbit hole listening to talking about Atlantis and comets and geology, ancient geology and stuff like that. And so I'm definitely looking forward to going down that rabbit hole. And I think I might be able to set up a conversation with Randall Carlson. So he's one of the guys that's on the list. And then we got a few other people that are pretty interesting. So what we're going to shoot for is a live stream episode once a week like this on Thursdays, and then an interview or two pre-recorded and put out at another point in the week. And that's the kind of the schedule that we're shooting for, because I know that one of the things about doing this type of thing that the people want content. They want content consistently and predictably. So
yeah,
our goal is going to be that, but
content without any 2.5 month breaks in the action. Right. A bunch of entitled bastards. Oh, it pays too. Well, it's time is a construct. So really, the idea that we haven't done a stream for 6 months, that's not real. That's something that you are affecting in your own psyche, so that you don't just fucking collapse psychologically. That's not our fault that you can't handle the idea that time isn't real.
You can't handle your own social constructs.
That's right.
Hey, Cooper says I give you fuckers money.
Yeah, I've said that, Cooper. We have a little bit of delay, but you'll be taken to task in moments.
It's okay. Cooper is used to being on a little bit of a delay.
Sexually, hey, Coop.
Speaking of Cooper,
can I say the funny thing that he's done ever, maybe in his life?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
But we were having a
yes, oh my god, yes,
a members only chat or stream or whatever, and he said something about that his wife needed him or he had to go for a second. He said, "Well, we'll see you in." Maybe it wasn't a members only one. Maybe it was here. Yeah, he popped back in here, but yeah, it was. He said his wife needed him, and I said, "Well, we'll see you in 3 minutes, Coop." And that fucker signed out and then signed back in and commented 3 minutes later just to take the joke home. And God bless you, that was funny. So that wasn't actually, it was just a regular ass stream, but fans, we do have members only streams that do.
That's the story I thought you were going to tell. I thought you were going to tell the one about the I don't remember the exact joke that he told, but that the one that had you just crying laughing for like 10 or 15 minutes on one of the warlords.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that most of the jokes that happen in the warlords only meetings they're not very repeatable jokes,
right?
for YouTube.
I don't even remember what it was, but I know that it would probably take way too long of a story to set it up.
Right.
Actually, no, I think we could tell it really concisely. This is what it was.
Okay.
We were talking to Andrew, and Andrew has a wife who originally came from China, and so we were talking about China, and Andrew happens to know, this is Popular Liberty Andrew. He happens to know a lot about, probably more about China than anybody I've ever met. And
than Chinese people.
Yeah. So we were talking about China, and someone I don't remember who said, "Have you ever been to China?" And people were kind of like, I don't know. And Cooper goes, kind of hesitated, and he goes, "I watched Gran Torino," and Steven disappeared off the camera, dead. So if you guys would ever, if you guys are interested in that sort of the sound of that sort of interaction and content and whatever digital term they're using these days, then you can join our supporting listeners group. It's quite a merry band of degenerates we have in there. We have a very good time. And then we do, that was one of the things that I was going to say, is that we need to get scheduled our next Warlords meeting.
It's been too long.
It has been too long. And those conversations, the other day I was walking at night and texting Josiah, and we were talking about some stuff. And I gotta say, I love Josiah. I don't know if he's here right now. I love the man. The way that he connects ideas together, I feel like he's this well that I need to go to, that he'll just like put some words out there and my mind will just devour them, and it will connect a whole bunch of dots, and it gives me a whole bunch of stuff to think about and consume, which is the best thing that you could possibly have for my brain. Josiah, getting Josiah and Cooper and Kyle and all these other guys in the group. I'm not going to go through and list off every single one of you guys. Getting all you guys,
all the ones that we appreciate.
We named the ones that we like. Yeah. Getting all you guys into a live stream together. I don't know if anybody else does this kind of thing, just does like a Zoom call with half a dozen to a dozen of their smartest friends, but
that lasts half a dozen to a dozen hours.
But I can hardly recommend it more. It's an absolutely fantastic experience. So that's something that you do for if you're one of the Warlords at our supporting listeners group. But if you guys want to join, it's subscribestar.com/Kingpilled, and then you can sign up. You'll get added to the Discord, and you'll jump into the merry band of chaos. So that thing. Oh, the other thing, as Amy just pointed out, what's up, Los Libertinos podcast in the chat. Speaking of Carlos Abelar, Amy just said here that today is the last day for shipping with Paloma Verde to get your order by Valentine's Day. And so Paloma Verde, being our first and best and most loyal sponsor, they are sponsoring this stream, and it's the best CBD products that money can buy. Let's see how many like blatantly, what's the term here? I've got like real estate brain going right now because I've just been doing real estate homework for forever.
Superlatives?
The term where you're like promising something in marketing that's clearly not true, that you clearly can't like actually substantiate. I can't remember. Is it puffery? Is that the one I'm thinking of? Ooh. I'm trying to think of whatever it is. I'm gonna make a list of all of those things, all the things that are like CBD cures cancer, and like CBD will make you grow 6 inches taller, and I'll just put a list of those things together and just add those to the normal the normal ad read.
Yeah, but foundation for a libel suit. Yes.
Yeah. I guess if I'm not careful, I'll just get us kicked off of YouTube for medical disinformation.
That's right.
But one thing that they do have that definitely is not puffery. My wife is ahead of the game here. They've got a new product there now over our good friends at PalomaVerdeCBD.com. They have massage oil, CBD massage oil. So If you can put
And what
these
were we
things
saying
together,
about Valentine's Day,
exactly,
Matthew?
exactly. Valentine's Day,
Goodness.
Valentine's Day, CBD massage oil. Need I say more? So, Paloma, Green Paloma CBD. Go to palomaverdecbd.com. Use promo code KING. That'll get you 25% off any order over $75 or more. And you will be supporting a family owned small business, a family owned, family run small business. There she is. Need some massage oil now?
What a sweetie.
She's adorable. What's her name?
May.
May. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've got, I'm not going to open the door, but she was in here scratching just a minute ago. I got myself a little black one as well. We're getting in all the innuendos today.
I didn't know they made little black ones.
That was good timing. Amy says that the massage oil can be used anywhere, even on your cat.
This is the first time she was on my laptop ever.
Okay, so do you kind of implied that you had some thoughts about the about stuff that's going on right now and stuff that's been on your mind over the last couple of months while you haven't been here venting to the camera.
Well, the first thing that I would say is
hang on. I just gotta say, I love that we're all just kind of beating around the bush here. And Carlos just goes, the massage oil works as lube too. In case you guys weren't picking up on it. There you go.
You know what? I'm becoming increasingly pure of heart because I didn't even put that together.
You are becoming pure of heart. I can't imagine.
Yeah. She somehow managed to find a way to minimize that window for a second. This is weird. She's not even touching the keyboard from what I can tell. It's just incredible.
She's minimizing it with her brain.
Lube, huh? What do you guys need that for? Well, anyway, I would say what's on my mind is like if your Valentine has like a hot brother. Okay. So I guess what was on my mind is it's very brief, which is just the idea of just kind of like I haven't been paying any attention to anything. I haven't been on Twitter, and I don't even remember how long that I haven't been on Twitter. That's been great. But I was remembering back to like March of 2020, and I mean, just the innocence that we all felt at that time. We're all looking for answers, and just different news outlets. How long, is this mysterious virus? How long is this, going to be around? When will life go back to normal? And there were a group of people out there that were very quick to say, it could go until like 2022, like January 2022. And I remember at the time being like, well, I guess it's going to last until fucking 2022. And it just, so as things, there's been kind of like a shift. And again, I haven't paid any detailed attention to anything, but I can see that, like the official people are kind of starting to ease up on everything and kind of talk more normally sensibly. It would seem if you're judging them by that like metric, which you shouldn't. But I'm just sitting here, just kind of thinking, they told you 2 years ago exactly how long that this shit was going to go on. There's not, to try and attribute this to anything that anybody wrote, put together, any driving on highways and making noise, and anything at all. Like it's a spook, It's like they told you literally 2 years ago precisely how long all this bullshit was going to last, and that's looks like I guess how long it's going to last, So if I guess my thought is just if you could take yourself and put yourself back in that situation, when you're freaking out in March of 2020, and just kind of say, okay, this is going to be 2 years. I got to figure out how to deal with it the best I can. Like maybe we all would have just sort of, it would have been time better spent, and
Hmm.
energy better spent. And that, again, I know I've mentioned it before, but like that's watching my Eastern Bloc students and friends and people who have escaped socialist nightmares and shit like that. That's kind of what they did. Just like from the jump, they skipped all like the bluster and the what the fuck and the everything, and then they're just like, fuck, got to navigate this now, and that is it. And if you want to get all like academic about it, you can take it back to Burnham and like the ruling elite and blah 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 and the organized minority and squiddly do, and and yeah, but yeah, that was really just the kind of thing. Because my only insight into anything that's going on is watching my friend's Instagram stories and him kind of sharing, different like libertarian page stuff, and then I'll just like rant at him because I haven't. haven't. He's not really libertarian, and I would say that we agree 99.78% or something like that. And he just shares the stuff to bother people. But it bothers me as well. And so I'll just leave him a litany of voice notes talking about why he's an idiot, even though he's not.
Well, as you're well aware, within a libertarian community, being 99.78% aligned on your views is basically grounds for becoming mortal enemies.
Oh fuck. I love it.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm sure that you didn't pay any attention at all to the little live stream I did a week or 10 days ago.
Also, no. I said no just to be funny, but no.
Yeah, on the truckers. I just had some thoughts on it that it was kind of an angle that I didn't see other people really taking, and then since then I've seen other people taking the same angle. So I'll just go ahead and take credit for that. But
what was the angle?
My angle on it was basically that while I am maybe you'd say like spiritually inclined to align with the truckers, and while I 100% support their sentiments and would love to see them be successful.
Yeah.
They're very clearly just positioning themselves to be the fall guys for the next escalation by the regime.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be the case. That doesn't have to be the case. They could, if they didn't want that to be the case, they could use this as an opportunity to overthrow the existing regime and install a new one. But clearly that's not reasonable or practical. Clearly that's not going to be successful. And so this to me, I think, is an illustration of just how like people don't take this seriously enough. They don't recognize just how deeply seated this regime is, and that just organizing a little rally, even if that rally takes over an entire city, that's still, relatively speaking, that's a little rally to actually take power. Because it's not enough to just take power. You have to take that power, and then you have to keep it. And to keep it, you need infrastructure, you need manpower, you need money, you need connections, you need a network, you need all these sorts of things that none of these people, nobody in any sort of dissident sphere actually has the things necessary for that. So what's ultimately going to happen is, as soon as the supply chain issues get worse and worse, as the economic issues get worse and worse, well, you've just given them the perfect get out of jail free card. You've given them the justification. Just plant it on the truckers, blame them for it, and use that as a pretext for the next escalation. So this is I think a product. The January 6th thing was the same type of thing. Like, this is a product of a generation that has been so enculturated into the revolutionary mindset that the natural instinct is, oh, we'll just go have a revolution. Not realizing that going and having a revolution is precisely the mechanism by which the regime continues to entrench its own power, and the method that it uses to escalate and to justify increased escalations. So I mean, that was basically my take on it.
That was very similar to my take in my friend's voice notes.
And smart guys,
and he was saying, he said, yeah, no, I agree, the truckers are going to get fucked. And I said, no, the truckers are fucking themselves and everybody else.
Yeah.
Just I can't find any Thousand Island Ranch for my for my raw potato French fries. What's this all about? And it's just like, oh well, if they weren't out there honking and delivering Thousand Island dressing, like I don't fucking know. But
there was a
yeah,
video going
she's pretty
around on Twitter
tiresome.
yesterday of a. Did you see the video of the? Wait, no, you're not on Twitter,
It's on
so you
Twitter?
probably
No,
wouldn't have.
absolutely not.
The
Was the
cops
cat?
were confiscating people's firewood. Like there's people who are camped there, and they were coming and they were just confiscating their firewood, just arbitrarily, just taking
Yeah,
it. And
yeah,
people were just like, just horror. Like, how could they be doing this? And I was like, you don't realize that you are engaged in an act of siege warfare.
yeah.
And these are the enemy combatants. Of course, they're taking your fucking firewood.
I just like I don't. I wonder maybe. See, there was a lot of poker in my upbringing. We played a lot of poker, and it was. I think that's
Steven
just like
grew up in the mob. That's
well,
just for
well,
people
yeah, it's
that
true.
didn't know.
Mob proximate, but like, all right. Yeah, I remember one time I said to somebody, I grew up in a family of gangsters and poker players. It just like came out of me. I was like, that is kind of true. But like, let's stick to poker. It's just like, just the idea of like who's holding the fucking cards is just such a theme, that resonated. I mean, you need to have a Sicilian woman, who's seen some things, daughter of a mafia don, look at you when you're 8 and you like miss deal and like a card flips over or something like that because your little baby fucking 8-year-old hands can't get around and look at you and just go, people have been shot for less and not be fucking kidding, by the way. It just instills something in you. But just like, who's holding the fucking cards, man? It's just like,
I love Mama Messina.
no, not her.
No?
No, her great aunt, who is fucking terrifying.
Oh,
But
man.
great. But great, yeah. And yeah, it just, like who I guess it's the same, like who's running shit? Who has the fucking power, Like um it's a worthwhile thing to like think about. There's no should involved, when you look at things in that light.
Yes, this is one of the avenues that I want to explore. I want to find some people who are thinking and talking about issues in this way that have kind of broken themselves outside of the I don't know. How do I say how do I not use buzzwords? Yeah, that have broken themselves outside of like the liberal Western mindset. Those are the buzzwords. It's I don't even know really how to put my finger on it or how to explain what I'm seeing, but I'm hearing lots of people, not lots of people. I'm hearing an increasing number of people who are beginning to take this very kind of detached game theoretic look at modern politics and that are thinking and talking about it in a way that like you are. And this is actually a very old way to look at these sorts of things. This is how like the majority of human history people have looked at this kind of thing. And it's just been in the last, I don't know, several decades that people have really kind of gone away from it as people have been really wrapped up in the thrall of like I more buzzwords, late stage capitalism. The post World War II era has really been like it's kind of been almost like a like what's the word, like a hiatus or like a pause. And like the people who've lived in this era have been just completely insulated and sealed off from the rest of human history. And you see this in the way that you talk to them. There is no apparent understanding of the is ought gap. So it's constantly being transgressed back and forth. And the ability to just identify the world as it is and accept it as it is, and then begin creating the world that you want to live in based on the world that actually lives and not the world that you wished was the world that exists. That just is like has been a completely lost skill to the modern world, and it's being recovered. There was a guy that what's his name? What's his name? Just watching this video from him that Andrew sent me. So first of all, there's a guy named Robert Breedlove who if you guys want to know what's kind of got my attention right now. Robert Breedlove is a guy who I found very, very interesting. He's a Bitcoin guy who is an Austrian economist. background. He's not actually an economist himself, but he comes from the Austrian perspective. And he is, interestingly enough, he is bros with Michael Saylor, who is a very interesting character. And so Breedlove has a show that he's been doing called the What Is Money podcast. And I don't know if I've ever seen somebody who can as concisely explain, as concisely and compellingly explain uh, the Austrian observations about money and property and those sorts of things. So just from an academic perspective, he's brilliant at making these explanations, but he comes at these things from this kind of a perspective, from this kind of engineering things from the ground up perspective, and dealing with the world that is versus the world that ought to be. He's still, I still hear a little bit of the um the love of 1776 in him, and so I think, but I think that's something that you're starting to hear him as you listen to him. I'm starting to hear him question that, and starting to
But
hear
who
him.
didn't love 72? I mean, what a summer, you know? We all remember.
The summer of 76. So he talked to a guy named Jason Lowry, and this guy's a mind. This is a guy I want to talk to. He's the video that Andrew posted. He posted it in the Warlords channel on the Discord. It's a conversation they're having about the evolution of property in warfare. And so he makes a very brilliant first principles case for number one, why a state is now that states have been created, there's always going to be states. And there's the only way to control what a state does or doesn't do is to take control of the state or become your own state. And these are just these aren't should questions. These are just observing the world as it is, like evaluating the human species as if it was as if they're like ants or bees, that you can see the way that they move, you can catalog their behaviors, and you can recognize and predict them based on how they based on their past history. These are the kinds of people that I'm very interested in talking to, and I've gotten a pretty big list of them. So that's one of the things that I really want to start digging into going forward. Let me see what some of these comments here said. Cooper says that the Alexander Dugin is a goof. It's funny. I didn't know anything about Dugin prior to. I basically never even heard the guy's name prior to like a month ago. I listened to the conversation he had with Thaddeus Russell, and then started reading this book that. Let me see if I can find it here. This is another one I would recommend to you guys if you want to understand where my brain is at right now. The book is called War for Eternity: Inside Bannon's Far-Right Circle of Global Power Brokers.
Hell yeah, Patriots.
The book is written by, get this is the guy's name, Benjamin Teitelbaum. It's exactly what you think it is. The guy is very much he's very much a regime loyalist, and but he manages to look at these characters like Bannon and Dugin and Evola, some of these different types of guys. He manages to look at them pretty honestly, and he's obviously like horrified by them, and he's very clearly painting them in a negative or threatening light. But it's very interesting seeing the ideological development of Steve Bannon and the connections between him and like Peter Thiel and Dugin and some of the things that they're working on. And that's where I think the real, like, if you're interested in, from the political perspective, if you're interested in where the political winds are blowing and where they're going to continue blowing, these are people that you need to understand and study. The group of guys that are pretty interesting on the electoral front right now from this perspective are like Blake Masters and Joe Kent and I can't remember the other guys' names right now. There's Anthony Sabatini. These are guys that are all very savvy right wing. They're they're like post neocon. I don't know for sure how detached from the neocon machine they are, but they're definitely very much from the right wing, from the like the right wing dissident angle. But they're really starting to have an impact on the political system, and I'm very interested to understand more like how they think and what their goals are and where they're headed, so that we can try to map out what's coming down the road. What's going to happen over the next 10 years? What's the world going to look like as it continues to evolve through this? I mean, I would say the regime is in full scale collapse mode by now. I think that's pretty clear. But I think some people hear, oh, the regime is going to collapse, and that means that everything's going to be hunky dory and the state's going to go away, and that's very clearly not the case. The regime collapsing is really, it might be better to call it the regime is morphing. It's starting to morph into a different format, a different structure. It's adopting new incentives, and I think that that's going to bring with it a lot of really interesting opportunities. I think that NFTs are a really interesting subject. In spite of all the memes, I think that NFTs actually, people that are blowing them off are really missing out on something here. And I'm not saying from a like an investment standpoint. I'm saying from a social organization standpoint, that they're going to become a pretty significant thing in the future, no matter what you think of them. So that's another angle kind of that I've been looking at, and trying to kind of take these different perspectives or different angles and tie them into a coherent picture of what the next 10 to 20 years are going to look like. You were starting to say something just a minute ago. Do you remember what that was?
I that doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like something I would do. No.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
No.
Nicholas says Cooper hates everything he's interested in. What did Cooper hate? Well, see, here's the thing, Nicholas. Cooper hates everything, so
Right.
that naturally is going to include all the things that you're interested in. I can't. Oh, it was Cooper saying that Dugan is a goofball. That's what it was. So I'm very interested to see. It's refreshing to me, honestly, to break out of the defaulting to the dichotomy between like libertarian and socialist, or capitalist and corporatist, or capitalist and socialist, like breaking out of that frame and realizing how many people really transcend those categories, or they include both of those categories. So those categories aren't fundamental. To me, being persuaded of something like that, like some people they want to hold on to those titles. They want to hold on to capitalism. We want to save capitalism, or we want to save libertarianism, or everything that's bad is socialist. To me, I want people to persuade me that those are useless categories, and to introduce new ones to me, because then like this opportunity to see the world from a new perspective opens up so many different avenues for study, and that's something that I love. So someone like Dugan is like, people are going to see that he was the head of a Bolshevik party, a party that had Bolshevik in the title. I mean, but just writing him off as a communist isn't accurate. Like it doesn't accurately capture where he's coming from.
People really do love dead political formulas, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because they're familiar. They're familiar, and they're safe. Really, like they're tame.
Yeah.
Nobody's really going to get really worked up if you tell someone you're a libertarian or a socialist or a capitalist. Okay, or whatever. It doesn't. It's very non-threatening, particularly a libertarian.
This is why I don't like words in general, because none of it's real. Like political formulas by nature, like aren't real because they're fake on purpose. They're designed to be fake. But even things that are allegedly real, those aren't real either. They're just words so that your brain doesn't explode, so that you don't have to interpret every different thing, because all things they're all different anyway. They're like, I need to categorize things into, and just none of it's real. It's just they're these words are these dumb devices for our dumb little monkey brains, for people who don't want to admit that they're monkeys. I'm going to find a way to really articulate this one day.
Mouse sounds and brain pictures.
People are going to just really just think it'd be like, yeah, that guy's not as dumb as we once thought.
It's mouth sounds and brain pictures. Those are the
Yeah.
technical terms you're looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe it's mind pictures. Maybe that's better. You get the alliteration in there. Mouth sounds and mind pictures. The TLDR here is that Steven's new frontier is he's now going to become a semiotician. He's going to invest himself in the study of semiotics.
Yeah.
The study of signs and symbols.
I hate them so much. You know,
signs and symbols.
Yeah, I just wish we could get to the point where we don't use them anymore. I mean, it's far away, but I think it's coming.
You are speaking Elon Musk's language.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mind implants.
No,
Neuralink.
Maybe not even. I don't even know about that. Just I wonder. I imagine animals living in a world where they're just post thinking that they're anything that they're not. Like we're just pretending that we're some kind of intelligent thing or whatever. But we just do all this stuff to fit this whole fucking universe. Try to cram this whole universe in our minds. It has no business being there. You know. I mean, can you imagine? Like, just if you look back to like how jazzed on capitalism, even like I'll say like me, but probably like a lot of people who are watching this, it's like, yeah, capitalism is a great thing and provides this and that for the people, and it's the best system, and it's just a fake thing, so that because violence, they did away with like violence, so there has to be sort of like treachery and fraud are the replacements for violence. So it's the equivalent of the I'm not touching you. I'm not touching. It's that's the fraud in the treachery. So now it's not the biggest, strongest guy. It's the most like cunning and fraudulent and manipulative or whatever person who in those people who sort of just run shit. And so it's just like what's a thing that we can make up so that we control all of the money. We'll call it capitalism. And then little jerk offs like Alex P. Keaton to like Best Buy libertarian guy. Just cheerleading, basically, unknowingly, and with the best of fucking intentions, I'm sure. For a bunch of fucking people to like run the universe, and I mean, literally no different than any of the socialist, douchebag like college people that myself and many others would make fun of. No difference whatsoever.
The Andrew says they're going to trick. He's saying he and his wife are going to trick the baby into thinking men speak English and women speak Chinese. That's actually very topical here, because if you were able to successfully do that, I take this kind of thing, I run with it. If you're able to successfully do that, you've just created a reality for a little kid that now, like if he grows up within that reality, it's going to take an absolutely immense amount of. It may even be impossible for him ever to break out of that perception of reality.
Correct.
And this is the same thing that has happened to all of us, is that we've been enculturated into viewing the world from a particular perspective and viewing it in a particular way. And that enculturation didn't come from nowhere. It didn't just appear out of a vacuum. It was explicitly introduced for explicit reasons. The human cognitive evolution doesn't happen from the ground up. It happens from the top down. And we don't do dialectics here, so it's not one versus the other. But the top down is what is the catalyst. Ultimately, every society is driven by its margins. So there's something on the margins that you might consider like the bottom, but then the top within the society draws from the margins and then installs new ideas or new perspectives or new symbols into the rest of the society to manipulate the direction of that society so that they can profit from that manipulation. And if you don't relate to humanity in this way, you can't reduce a human being down to an individual. You've parsed things so much that you can no longer accurately understand what's happening. You can no longer make accurate predictions because you're not dealing with the world as it exists. What happens between two individual people doesn't port to the rest of the society. A human society is a living entity. a group of human beings is a living entity that has characteristics and traits, and it you have to understand the functioning of a group, which is ultimately going to be driven by the minority who are uh, controlling that group, who are running that group, the leaders within that, the head of the group. And this is where, um, like you said, people have gotten themselves so wrapped up in an individual term or the way that they were raised to view the world, and they've associated themselves with other people who see the world the same way. So you get this confirmation bias happening where they're reinforcing each other, and you go long enough, like far enough down that path, and there's going to be a termination point where it can't persist any longer, where you've divorced yourself so much from the real world. You're living in an artificial constructed reality so much that you're going to drive off a cliff. And I guess this is how the cycles reset themselves. So we're headed into the reset of a cycle now. And what Steven is saying is that far from returning to anarcho-primitivism, what Steven wants is he wants to return to pre-bipedal humanity. Steven wants to return to pre-linguistic humanity.
Or move past it. I imagine like advanced civilizations realized that this was all fucking retarded, and had to like sort of go through it or whatever. I want to move to a world where we realize that we're very pre-bipedal, just by nature. That we never got done being apes, and and so like even like I saw the word sociopath, and I didn't even read the context of it, but just when people use the word like sociopath, like people, that's not even a real thing. Sociopaths aren't real. Those are just people who are really great at being apes and and they're only pretending not to be, just because they know that they're supposed to pretend not to be, because you can't just be like, I'm a fucking, I'm a gorilla and I just want to fucking be the best gorilla.
They didn't devolve an additional piece of software that constrains them in ways that other people are constrained.
Yeah, or even like another political, like religion, another political formula or something, to affect, how people operate through the world. Like I think there's religions that are great, like capitalism has great aspects too, but just like religion has its when you're playing within like these constructs that are made, there's good ideals you can take out of anything. Dare I say, even maybe that's why like people are just like, oh, communism ideally, would really work out. And it's just this idea that people just take care of it. Okay, yeah, within your little, yeah, perfect. You can do that with religion, but then you kind of like look back. If you look at like what's happening now and realize that this is all some bullshit, and even like if you're looking at all this like woke shit, and if you find yourself like waving your fist, it's like, oh, why can't people see through it? Look at what all these celebrities and powerful people are saying. It's like, bro, they see through it too. They know it's bullshit. It's just like, it's the people who love them that don't know that it's not bullshit. It's just like, they just have like an instinct towards like power. And you just look back through history and okay, it happened with Christianity and it happened to anything you can fucking name, capitalism, whatever. I don't know where the fuck I was going. But oh yeah, sociopaths. Yeah, there's people who, it's the people like behind all that, just like, oh, look, I can be, terrible and dominate everything, and all I have to do is pretend to sort of play within these rules and give other people these little rules to play within, and use them to my advantage. Boop. They're great at being the best monkey, and so if for whatever reason you have decided that being a sociopath is bad, or being the best monkey requires things that you don't want to do, just don't do them, and just know that you are going to not be the best monkey, and like you will have to endure monkey hardships. And I don't get involved in Christianity. It'll teach you how to take an L and be happy with it. There's like higher, there's higher rewards. So it is what it is.
It'll
get a cat, by the way. Why not get a cat?
Follow Jordan Peterson's advice. Not all of his advice, but certain pieces of his advice.
Rule 13, get a cat.
I just want to highlight some of these comments that are going on in here because, as usual, our comment section is or our live chat is popping. So Andrew says, Matt, I just figured out how to communicate something I've been working on for months. I had it highlighted up here on the screen a minute ago. He said the family is the image of God, not the individual. A family, at a minimum, is 2 humans and 1 God, i.e., 3 persons, 1 being. And then Josiah, coming in as Josiah does, said, to image God is to find one's rightful place in supporting and creating family. These are the types of insights and perspectives that you can get in the Kingpilled supporting listeners group. If you go to subscribestar.com/Kingpilled, these are also the what would you call this? The frameworks that are, I think we're, like you've pointed out, there's like these terms that are terms of control. They're frameworks that were conceived for the sake of controlling and pacifying and hurting, like HERD, hurting like sheep, hurting humans, also for hurting humans. So that works as well.
Because we want to be free, brother. We don't want to be hurted. Honk.
The honk memes are fantastic, by the way. They're just they're top notch. But the we're kind of like at the expiration date of a lot of these frameworks, and I think this is why you're seeing people that are starting to, we're evolving beyond these old frameworks of socialism, capitalism, libertarianism, all the different isms.
Yeah.
And so some people are looking back to find past frameworks that have perhaps been discarded to try to take them in the future. Some people are just looking into the future and trying to there's different ways of cognitioning. One is like start from behind and try to build up to now. The other is start in the future and try to fill back to now. Those are like different ways that people will conceive of the world. And the thing that both of these people have in common is they're trying to create new frameworks for thinking and viewing the world, frameworks that a lot of other people don't share. And we're trying to figure this out in real time. Not all of us have, none of us have have all of this completely filled out. We're trying to flesh it out. We're trying to put it together. We're trying to figure out new, more adaptive ways of interfacing with the world. And what I've realized is that, I guess maybe just a natural consequence of being around other people is that as you try to think these sorts of things through out in the open, it really triggers a lot of people, and they don't want to let go of their old broken frameworks. So they get really worked up that we don't have a completely comprehensive, detailed answer immediately off the cuff for every possible objection or for every circumstance. Well, the first part of solving a problem is you have to identify the problem. And I think that's where we've been for the last couple of years. We've been trying to identify and really wrap our minds around what the actual problem is and how it developed. Before we can start talking about what the optimal solutions are, we have to first be able to identify the problem. And I think we're in this kind of transitionary stage where people are kind of, it's like, the way I sort of visualize it is like hiking up a mountain, and everybody has stopped at like a base camp, and we've been hung out at this base camp for a while looking at maps that other people drew of the rest of the hike up to the summit. none of us have actually been up there. We've just been looking at these maps that other people have drawn and trying to connect them to where we are and trying to understand them. And people are fighting and squabbling over which map to follow and which one's better and why and the history of the maps and yada yada yada. Eventually, people just check out of this of the debate. They're just like, I don't. All of these maps are stupid. Let's just go chart the course ourselves. Let's just go create our own maps.
It's funny you use map. I was like sort of in my head when you were talking earlier. Like I don't remember what it was, but I remember at one point I was thinking it's like, yeah, it's like using like a topography map from like the time of the dinosaurs or something, and it's totally changed or whatever. But I think everyone kind of sort of have had this experience, and it's unique to live through this, but where they're kind of really, oh man, this whole left and right thing, that's getting real confusing. Why do I agree with Glenn Greenwald? Why is he on Tucker Carlson? And it's just like if you look at it, it's like, oh, it doesn't work because it's like fake and was never real. This doesn't work anymore. The people who told you that it was real have abandoned ship, as Matt said earlier. It's like they're shifting to something else. So all that dumb left right shit, capitalism, communism, that's done. So that's why you find yourself like using this like, well, is this a left problem, a right, or is kind of a center? Nope. None of this is making heads or tails of anything that you see going on around you. It's because they're changing the little sandbox that they're going to allow you to be playing in that you think is real. And so I guess no matter what, the next thing that like seems like it makes some sense, like they or someone else made that shit too, and that is also not real. So like, just don't even fucking sweat it. And things kind of only move forward, but they also kind of do this cyclical thing, right? And so that's why sometimes you can kind of like see way the fuck over here, and it looks like it's coming again because it kind of is. And so it's like when you kind of going back to these old ideas, you're kind of like, I mean, it looks like it's right around the corner, but it looks like it's in the past. Am I going past? It's like, no, you're coming up around them again. It's coming. Maybe not in your lifetime, but it's coming.
You know what just occurred to me? There's a thing that people didn't used to, outside of like the last, I don't know, maybe 200 years. People didn't have debates over whether a thing was left wing or right wing. They didn't like debate those things. Now we've, especially here, like between, I'll speak for myself. You could agree with me or disagree with me. It doesn't make a difference to me. I've used left deliberately as a pejorative because people understand it. When you talk about the left, people know what you're talking about. Everybody knows what you're talking about when you talk about the left. Because the left is a consolidated phenomenon that has a specific methodology that can be applied in a lot of different ways, a lot of different venues, but it's always recognizable. You can recognize the left. The right is different. The right, most people, when you talk about the right, they don't really attach it to anything in particular. So I've used this terminology, and I'll use communist as a pejorative as well, because going to the mouth sounds and the mind pictures, when I say communist or the left, people get the right brain picture that I want them to have. So I use that. But the left-right framework, this idea of categorizing people based on whether they're left wing or right wing, and like then there's the centrists who are a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and like all of this whole thing is the amount of time that humans have existed compared to the amount of time that this kind of framework has been used is like there's a massive distinction there, a massive difference. This framework is not something innate to humanity, and it's not something that's been used for very long. And the reason is because outside of the last couple of centuries, The way people broke a society down was by the people who have power and the people who do not. And that's how it is. For a lot of people, it was, boy, I sure hope the roving bands of murderers on horses don't come tyrannize our little village this summer. If they do, it's sure going to suck, and hopefully they don't take away too many of our kids to be kept as slaves. Those roving bands of murderers on horses, they didn't go away. They just call themselves bureaucrats and politicians and civil servants. They still serve the exact same function in society. And because of the structure of our society, the filling the role of the roving murderous horseman requires different characteristics, different character traits. Then it might have required a guy who can shoot an arrow from horseback and maybe swing a broadsword and whatever. Like those kinds of character traits would have adapted themselves, would have ported nicely to filling that role. Now, in a society that's evolved different social structures, it takes a different personality type to serve the role of roving murderous horseman. Now it's a bureaucrat. It's a journalist. It's a public school teacher.
Might look like a horse.
But it hasn't changed the fact that it's still the people who have power and the people who don't. And the people who have power are going to wield it against the people who don't. And if you want a reality where the people who have power are not unjustly wielding it against the people who don't, then you need people to justly wield power against the people who unjustly wield power. It's that simple. So then there's a formula for attaining power to justly wield it against the people who are unjustly wielding it. You can do that, or you can discuss how the world should be and how we wish the world operated, and you can abstract into hypothetical land and go round and round in circles discussing all of your isms.
Man, can you believe that Joe Rogan is like apologizing and stuff? Ugh.
That was, it was predictable, but I liked Don the Pleb's take on it. He said this is actually a win because people who will call it it's interesting that you have the people who look at it entirely just on the surface and say, oh, he's apologizing because he said something bad. And then you have the people who go a layer deeper. And so people say he's apologizing because he said something bad and this is good or this is bad. They'll have whatever their take is. Then you have the people who go like a layer deeper and they say, oh, this is bad because he got bullied into doing it. And now he's compromising and he's giving them an inch and they're going to take a mile and, make that observation. And that's how I would typically probably be inclined to think about it. That's kind of how I naturally would have thought. And then here comes Don the Pleb. And he said, this is a win. Essentially, you need to go a layer deeper. The outcome here is that Joe Rogan is now going to personally experience what it's like to do something that's like a very, very small deal, get dragged by a mob, make a very sincere apology, and continue to get dragged and slandered by the same mob. And the people, the blue-pilled people who are tracking with him are going to experience the same thing. So this is just another step in the progression where now you're going to get these people who think that they're making a good faith move. It's going to get slapped right back in their face. And they're going to be much less inclined to make a good faith move in the future. It's more people recognizing the real nature of the conflict, what's actually happening right now, realizing that like these truckers, maybe these truckers now that they got their firewood stolen, maybe now they realize that they showed up to Ottawa as an occupying military force. That's the role that they're playing. So they're being treated like an occupying military force. So perhaps, no, I probably shouldn't say that on YouTube.
If you want to hear what Matt has to say, head on over to subscribestar.com/kingpilled.
Right. Yeah. You know, if you're gonna do the time, maybe you got to do the crime. You know, that kind of thing is kind of where I was headed with it. Anyways, well, you said you had to peace out 10 minutes ago.
I've got some work to do.
Well, you guys can support Steven in his Stop Being Poor efforts.
Yes.
By going to subscribestar.com/kingpilled and signing up to join our supporting listeners group. That's one thing that you can do.
That's one thing.
Or you can just send him money. He's going to be a digital panhandler, and you can just send him money
very shortly.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. It was fun to get back in the chair here, and hopefully we'll have some pretty good stuff here coming soon. I don't know if I made this completely clear before, but we're going to do our best to keep things keep on this consistent schedule, but we can't necessarily guarantee it just because given where I'm at right now, getting started on in a new career, I'm at the mercy of some other people and waiting for licenses, waiting for deadlines, waiting for schedules and stuff. And so just bear with us. Our goal is we are back. We're back, and we're gonna keep bringing you guys all this brilliant, well thought out content, and just bear with us as things may be up and down. Sometimes we have to cancel some shows or move some shows around because other stuff happens. But ultimately, making money comes first, and that's what we're gonna do. You can. We said supporting listeners group, plumaverdecbd.com, promo code KING. And this is the last day to get shipping by Valentine's Day. So go place yourself an order and get some quality CBD products. And I think that's it.
I think so too.
See you guys.
Bye, fans.